She was 80, one sharp as a tack, lived in a small house off a quiet street in Flagstaff, Arizona. Her name was Eleanor, but everyone called her Ellie. If you asked her what kept her going after her husband passed 5 years ago, she wouldn't talk about yoga or bridge club. She'd just pat the thick, sable-colored head resting at her knee and say, "Maxed." Max was her German Shepherd. 100 pounds of loyal muscle and molten gold eyes that tracked her every move like he was born to protect her. And in a way, he was. Now, people have all kinds of opinions about what dogs are best for seniors. Some say small, easy-to-carry breeds. Others go on about hypoallergenic coats or low energy levels. But here's the thing, none of those arguments ever quite capture what a German Shepherd brings into your life. You don't get a German Shepherd because they're easy. You get one because they're worth it. Let me take you back to Ellie and Max because that's where the story starts. Max wasn't her first dog. She and her husband had labs and mutts over the years. Good dogs, all of them. But when she found herself alone in that house, something shifted. The silence got too loud. The routines they used to share, morning coffee on the porch, afternoon walks, just hurt. She needed someone, but not just anyone. She needed presence. Her daughter was against it. "Mom, a German Shepherd. They're huge. You'll trip. What if he pulls you down?" Ellie had always been polite. "This time," she said, "sweetheart, if I fall, it won't be because of him. It'll because I sat still too long." She found Max at a rescue 2 towns over. He was 2 years old, surrendered by a family that didn't have time for him. You could tell he didn't understand why. He hadn't given up yet, but he was getting close. He didn't bark when she walked up to his kennel, just stood and looked at her like he already knew her. And something in Ellie settled right then. Bringing Max home changed things immediately. She had to wake up with purpose again, let him out, feed him, check his water. The tiny tasks that keep a day from unraveling. But more than that, he watched her, really watched her. If she dropped her keys, he waited for her to pick them up. If she wobbled on the porch steps, he braced under her arm like it was second nature. That's the thing about shepherds. They don't just live with you. They sync with you. They were bred for it, literally. German Shepherds were created to be the thinking partner to a human being, to anticipate, to act, to protect without needing to be told every move. That instinct doesn't fade because someone retires. It just shifts. Instead of guarding sheep or working search and rescue, they guard the little things. The fallen remote, the doorbell at dusk, the stretch of sidewalk between the driveway and mailbox. And when you're older, those little things matter more than people realize. One morning, 3 months after Max arrived, Ellie's neighbor knocked. He'd seen a man pacing in front of her driveway, acting odd. Max had already noticed. He'd placed himself between Ellie and the window, hackles up, tail still. Not barking, just watching. The man left. Maybe nothing would have happened. But maybe it would have. Max didn't take chances. And neither did Ellie anymore. But let's be clear about something. This isn't just about protection. It's about partnership. See, a lot of seniors talk about feeling invisible. The world starts treating you like background noise. Clerks speak slowly like you're hard of hearing. Doctors half listen while typing on computers. But when you walk down the street with a German Shepherd, people notice. And not just because of the dog's looks. Though, let's face it, they're showstoppers. No, it's because something about that image, a silver-haired person with a powerful, dignified dog, forces people to rethink what aging means. It says, I'm still here, I matter, I lead, I protect too. And that does something deep inside. Max made Ellie visible again. And not just to others, but to herself. She walked taller. She spoke clearer. She stopped apologizing for asking people to repeat themselves. Why? Because she had backup. Not a crutch. A teammate. I talked to her once about it. We were sitting on her porch, sipping lukewarm coffee. Max stretched out across her feet like a living rug. "You know what I used to dread most?" she asked me. "What?" "Going to bed." She glanced toward the open door behind us. The TV was off, no lights were on yet, just her and Max in the creaking hush of evening. "I'd lie there and stare at the ceiling," she said. "It's hard to explain. It was a hollowness." "And now?" I asked. She smiled. "He lays on the floor right beside me. Doesn't even snore, just breathes. And I swear it fills the room up, makes it whole. That kind of companionship isn't about entertainment. It's not about tricks or play fetch. It's about presence. The unshakable sense that someone is with you always. That's what German Shepherds bring. Not just affection, but loyalty forged in fire. Now, some folks hear loyalty and think obedience. But that misses the mark. Shepherds aren't robots. They question. They interpret. They adjust. They're not blindly loyal. They're wisely loyal. They don't just follow. They follow because they've judged you worth following. And that kind of trust, it changes how you move through the world. Ellie started going back to her community center. Not because someone dragged her, but because Max nudged her gently every afternoon, like he knew it was time. She'd pack his water bowl, clip on the leash, and walk down the street like she owned it. Like grief hadn't won. And it hadn't. That's another piece of this healing. People think grief is loud and sharp, and sometimes it is. But often, it creeps in when no one's around. When the phone doesn't ring, when dinner's made for one. That's where shepherds shine, not just in grand, heroic moments, but in the ifs that give structure to chaos, rhythm to lonely days. And let me tell you, German shepherds love routine. They thrive on it, which means, by default, you start to build a life again. Not overnight, but inch by inch. Morning walks, midday naps, evening patrols around the yard. It becomes a kind of heartbeat. One morning, Ellie told me something I'll never forget. I thought I was bringing him home to save him, she said. Turns out he was already packed and ready to save me. And he did. For 5 years, Max never left her side. Through arthritis, through her hip surgery, even through the slow onset of dementia, he adjusted as she did, became gentler, slower, but never less alert. Eventually, Ellie had to move in with her daughter. It was time. Max went with her, of course, and he gapped it again. New house, new smells, new furniture. But his eyes never wandered far from Ellie. He passed at 10, quietly, on the rug beside her chair. And when he did, she cried yes. But she didn't crumble. He gave me more than I ever gave him, she said. He reminded me who I was. That's why German Shepherds are perfect for seniors. Because they don't just join your life. They rebuild it with you. They don't see age, they see soul. And in that gaze, fierce and steady, you remember you're still capable, still worthy, still here. Now, not everyone is ready for a shepherd. That's fair. They need engagement, patience, clarity. They're not passive companions. But if you're looking for a dog who meets you with presence, every hour, every day, there's nothing like them. They don't just walk beside you. They walk with you. And sometimes, when the path gets steep or the night gets long, they carry more than their share. They carry you. A few towns over from Ellie lived a man named James. He was 74, ex-Marine, the kind of guy who still ironed his shirts even though he rarely left the house. His hands shook now. Parkinson's had crept in a few years ago, but his eyes, still steel, still full of fire. After his diagnosis, James started withdrawing. It's not something he admitted easily, but you could see it. He stopped going to the veterans' breakfasts. Stopped driving, even though the doctors hadn't said he had to. Started avoiding the mirror. Because here's what no one tells you about Parkinson's. It doesn't just steal movement. It chips away at control. And for a man who lived his life on precision, that loss hit deep. His daughter tried everything: therapists, support groups. She even got him a little companion dog, a fluffy thing that barked more than it breathed. James lasted 2 weeks. I need a soldier, he finally told her. Not a stuffed animal. That's when Ava came in. Ava was a 3-year-old working line German Shepherd. Her original handler had been deployed overseas and couldn't keep her. Fully trained in basic commands, leash work, and, more importantly, she had that focused, grounded energy you only find in shepherds who've had purpose. From the first moment, they locked eyes, and it was like a silent contract passed between them. James said, "Sit." She did, he said. "Walk." She matched his slow, deliberate pace, her head just below his elbow. And when he paused, because he had to, she paused too. No tug, no whine. Just stillness. That was the start of something no one could have predicted. The thing about shepherds is they give you back what the world starts to take from you: dignity. That sounds dramatic, but stay with me. Dignity isn't about pride or ego. It's about agency, about still having choices, still being useful. And that's what Ava gave James. Every morning he fed her, brushed her coat, one slow stroke at a time. She'd sit quietly as he worked past the tremor in his fingers, as if she knew this was more than grooming. It was therapy. It was reclamation. They walked twice a day. Not far, not fast, but steadily, side by side. Strangers would pass them and smile, and James, who hadn't looked a stranger in the eye in almost a year, started smiling back, then nodding, then speaking. "She makes me feel like I still command something," he once said to his daughter. What he didn't realize was that he was commanding more than just Ava. He was commanding the moment again, owning his time, leading even through the shaking. That's what German shepherds do. They let you lead, even when life makes you feel like a passenger. It's in their blood. Generations bred not to dominate, but to follow with purpose. To match pace, to listen, not just to words, but to tone, breath, posture. They become fluent in you. And for seniors who often feel misunderstood, even by family, that kind of understanding is priceless. Let me tell you about Maria now. Mid-60s, widow, early stages of vision loss. Lived alone in a small adobe-style house near Albuquerque. Used to paint landscapes, sunsets, deserts, trees bending in the wind. She stopped when her sight started to go. Said it felt like betrayal, trying to paint a world she couldn't fully see. Her neighbor, a retired K-9 officer, offered her a German shepherd that didn't pass police training because she was too gentle. Maria resisted at first. "I don't need protection," she said. "I need comfort." The officer laughed. "Then she's perfect." The dog's name was Nala. Jet black with caramel eyes and a softness in her movements that didn't seem real for a dog that size. Maria agreed to a trial. First day, she set a paintbrush on the edge of the table. It rolled, fell. Before she could even reach for her cane, Nala was there, nudging the brush back toward her with her nose. Second day, Maria stepped outside too fast, misjudged the curb, started to tilt. Nala leaned into her leg, balanced her. Not a bark, not a jump, just presence. By the end of the week, Maria had started painting again. Not full canvases, just sketches, swirls of color. But the difference, she wasn't painting alone. She'd talk to Nala while she worked, out loud, describing the colors, the feeling, the brush, the memory she was chasing. And Nala, she'd just lay there, alert but calm, like a heartbeat outside Maria's own. Here's the truth no one really says out loud: aging isn't just physical decline. It's an identity shift. And if you're not careful, you lose track of who you were, and worse, who you still are. But a shepherd, a German shepherd, doesn't let that happen. They don't care about your age or your ailments. They care about your rhythm, your spirit. They see past the wrinkles and the pills and the labels. They tune into something deeper, the part of you that still wants to move, connect, protect, and be seen. And that's what makes them perfect for seniors. Not because they're quiet, not because they're soft, but because they're present. They're smart enough to understand your limits and noble enough not to make you feel lesser for them. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but German shepherds need exercise. What if I can't walk far? What if I'm not strong enough to train them? Fair question. And here's the answer: it's not about matching their energy. It's about channeling it. See, shepherds aren't hyper. They're engaged. Big difference. You don't have to run marathons. You just need consistency, mental stimulation, eye contact routine. And guess what? That's exactly what most seniors need too. It becomes a feedback loop. You wake up because they need you. You go outside because they expect it. You keep moving because someone's watching, not with pity, but with pride. That's powerful. And let's talk about safety. Not just from strangers or emergencies, but from the creeping fear that can come with aging alone. You know that feeling when you hear a strange noise at night and your brain runs wild. Now imagine you hear it and your shepherd hears it too. But she stays calm, doesn't bark, just shifts her weight, ears up, waiting. That calm becomes yours. Because if she's not worried, you don't have to be. It's like living with a silent sentinel, not a guard dog, a guardian. And that difference matters, because you don't feel watched over like a child. You feel respected, supported, equal. Now let me tell you about Harold and Mags. Harold was 82, had a pacemaker, took 15 pills a day. But every afternoon, he walked down to the pond behind his assisted living center with Mags, short for Magnolia. She wasn't a rescue. She was bred by a veteran with the specific goal of pairing her with a senior. From day one, she learned calm focus, low excitement levels, deep bond building. The day Harold met her, he didn't even touch her, just sat on the bench, watched. She walked over, sat down in the grass beside him, and let out a long sigh, like she'd been waiting for him all along. For the next 3 years, they were inseparable. The center allowed pets if they passed temperament tests. Mags didn't just pass. She redefined the standard. When Harold's heart gave him trouble one night, Mags barked once, then ran to the hallway, found a nurse, and led her back. No drama, no panic. She just knew. They gave Harold 2 more years because of that. 2 more years of pond walks, morning breakfasts with Mag's head on his lap, 1 more Christmas. And when he passed, the staff offered to keep her. But his granddaughter, who'd never even wanted a dog, took her home. Because she carries part of him, she said. And I want to remember what that kind of love looks like. You see the pattern here. It's not about big tricks or fancy obedience. It's not about how easy they are to manage. It's about how deep they go with you, how present they are, how they give older people often overlooked, dismissed, patronized, someone who meets them eye to eye. That's what makes German Shepherds so special for seniors. They don't ask you to be younger. They honor who you are now and who you've always been. Here's something no one talks about sometimes. After a certain age, the world starts talking around you instead of to you. Doctors speak in terms you didn't ask for. Family makes decisions before you even know there was a discussion. People mean well, sure. But slowly, without anyone realizing, your life stops being yours. And that's where a German Shepherd can change everything, because they don't let you fade. They don't let you sit quietly and disappear to the background of your own life. They nudge your hand when you forget to eat. They bring their leash when they know you've been in the chair too long. They stare until you laugh. And when grief sneaks up on you in the still hours of the night, they don't talk at you. They don't try to fix it. They just stay. And sometimes staying is everything. Let's talk about Charles and June. Married 58 years. Lived in a house filled with memories and not enough air. June passed quietly one early morning in October. Charles didn't cry. Not at the funeral. Not after. But the next week, he went down to the shelter and said, "I need a dog that's going to force me to go outside." They gave him Lucky, a black and tan German Shepherd with scars across his ear and a suspicious look in his eye. Lucky didn't trust easily. Neither did Charles. They understood each other immediately. At first, they just coexisted. Quiet house, quiet walks. Then one day, Charles dropped a plate. Lucky, instead of flinching or backing away like most shelter dogs might, walked over, sat beside the mess, and waited. Didn't bark. Didn't sniff. Just watched him. Steady. Anchored. Charles said later it felt like someone was saying, "It's okay. You're not broken." And something inside him cracked open. He cried for first time since June died. Right there on the kitchen floor, a grown man 84 years old, sobbing into the fur of a dog who barely knew him, and yet knew everything. From then on, they were welded together. Lucky pulled Charles back into living, not by being playful or fun, but by being steady, present, loyal without smothering, the kind of loyalty that says, "I'm not here to cheer you up. I'm here to stand with you in whatever comes." That's shepherd loyalty. And that's the kind of bond older people need. Not noise, not distraction, just truth. German Shepherds don't do fake. They don't force happiness. They offer connection. Quiet companionship that doesn't ask you to be cheerful, just real. Now, there's a concern that often comes up: what happens when the dog outlives the senior? It's a fair question, a heavy one, but let's look at it without flinching. First, many rescues and breeders that work with seniors have built in rehoming policies. They plan for that. Shepherds are rehomed into vetted, experienced families or returned to breeders who understand their temperament. But second, and maybe more importantly, don't let the fear of the end rob you of the middle. We don't avoid friendships because one of us might go first. We don't refuse love because loss is possible. So why should it be different in dog 1 year, 5 years, 10? If a shepherd gives you 3 good years where you feel whole again, seen, needed, isn't that worth it? Isn't that everything? And let's be honest. Sometimes it's the shepherd who needs someone too. Plenty of these dogs end up in shelters because their owners moved or passed away or just didn't want the responsibility anymore. That's a heavy blow to a breed that bonds as deeply as the shepherd does. When a senior adopts a shepherd, it's not just the human being saved. The dog is too. It's two hearts that still have something to give, finding each other when the rest of the world assumes they're done. Let's be clear about something else. Not every senior is frail. Not every shepherd is intense. There's a wide range within both. Some seniors still hike, drive, volunteer, babysit grandkids. They want a dog that keeps up. Others have slowed down, need calm energy. A dog that knows how to rest when they rest, move when they move. Same goes for shepherds. Some are working, line athletes. Others are mellow couch companions with a built-in sixth sense for emotional shifts. The key is matching the energy, not assuming based on stereotypes. You don't get a shepherd just because they're smart. You get one because you're ready to meet that intelligence with your own kind of wisdom. Because here's the magic. When you bring a German shepherd into your life, you're not just adopting a dog. You're entering a relationship, one where you'll be challenged, yes, but also deeply understood. A relationship that gets better as the trust grows, one where silence doesn't feel empty, it feels full. Let me tell you about Jean, 77. Lived alone since her brother passed. Didn't have a single living relative. She said once, "I was starting to feel like a ghost." Then came Gunnar, a 10-year-old German shepherd, surrendered by a family moving across the country. He was slow-moving, great around the face, hips a little stiff. So was Jean. It was perfect. She called him "old man," in a tone that was more love than joke. He'd sigh when she talked too much. She'd grumble when he blocked the hallway. And at night, when she'd settle into her creaky old recliner, he'd drop down beside it with a grunt like they were both saying, "We made it through another one. Ha!" There's something powerful about aging together, about looking over at something and knowing they get it. The aches, the slowness, the memories that flash like film reels out of nowhere. Gunnar passed 2 years later, peacefully, at home. Jean held his paw until the very last breath. And afterward, she didn't rush to replace him. She didn't need to. "He left enough love in this house to last me the rest of my days," she said. That's what a good German shepherd does. They don't just take up space. They leave something behind when they're gone. And that something lingers. In the morning light slanting across the rug they used to lay on. In the drawer where the leash still sits. In the muscle memory of turning to say, "Come on, let's go," even when no one's there anymore. They become part of you. Not because they're magical, but because they're real, present, deeply loyal in a world that often forgets how to be. So, when someone asks you, "Isn't a German shepherd too much for a senior?" you look them in the eye and say, "Not if you're the kind of senior who still has something left to give," because that's what it takes. Not youth, not speed, just heart, just a willingness to love one more time, to build one more bond, to be someone's person again. German shepherds don't need you to be strong. They need you to be steady, to show up, to listen, to walk with them even slowly, to lead even when your legs hurt, to sit in silence even when your heart does. And in return, they'll give you the kind of companionship that doesn't fade with time. That deep, bone-level knowing, "I've got you." And sometimes, when the world is quiet and the night feels too long, that's all you need. So here's the takeaway, the real truth under all these stories. German shepherds don't just fit into a senior's life. They expand it. They stretch the good moments, cushion the hard ones, keep the days from collapsing into each other, give shape to the hours, and color to the silence. They don't just help you survive aging. They help you live through it. And in a world that too often sidelines the elderly, that's not just a gift, it's a revolution. So if you've ever thought, maybe it's too late for a dog like that, I promise you it's not. And if you're worried about making the commitment, just know there are rescue shepherds right now, right this minute, sitting in shelters with too much love and nowhere to put it. And maybe, just maybe, one of them is waiting for you. There's a moment, if you've ever had a dog like this, you know it, when you're not doing anything particularly important. You're sitting in a chair, maybe watching the light shift across the floor, maybe holding a cup of tea gone cold, And without a word, without even a sound, they come and lay their head on your knee. Not because they want something, not because you called them, just because they know that you needed a weight to anchor you, that you were drifting just a little, that you didn't want to be alone right then. That's what a German Shepherd gives you. Not performance, not tricks, presence. And here's something else. They remember, not just commands, not just routines. They remember you, your moods, your sounds, the way you clear your throat when you're sad, the way you drag your feet when you're tired, the difference in your voice when you're pretending you're okay and when you're actually okay. They remember the version of you that existed before the world changed, before your spouse passed, before the kids moved away, before your knees stopped working like they used to. And every day, just by showing up, they say that version of you is still in there, and I still see it. Now, maybe you've never owned a German Shepherd. Maybe you've only seen them in movies, with cops or soldiers always chasing something. Maybe you've thought, they're too intense, too serious. But here's the truth. Their seriousness isn't aggression, it's devotion. That laser focus. That's just love pointed in one direction. You. They're not intense because they want to dominate. They're intense because they can't bear the idea of something happening to you on their watch. It's not protection. The way people think of it. It's responsibility, a job they gave themselves the moment you locked eyes. Let me leave you with one last story. Her name was Iris. 90, nearly blind, she lived in a quiet rural town in Montana, on a piece of land her husband built with his own hands in 1956. She refused to leave it, even when her kids begged. Even when her knees gave out and her eyes gave up. She had a dog named Luther. He was old too. 9 when she adopted him. Deep-chested, broad-shouldered, coat like smoke over fire. They moved like shadows of each other. Slowly. Deliberately. Every step hers echoed in him. Every pause he mirrored. When she shuffled to the back porch to listen to the wind blow through the pines, he was already sitting there, facing out, ears twitching at sounds she'd never hear again. One night, she collapsed in the hallway. Her phone was on the counter. No one was due to visit until the next morning. Luther barked, not wildly, just once, then again, until a neighbor, coming home late from a shift, heard the pattern. Something about it didn't sound random. He walked over, found the front door open. Iris on the floor, Luther lying beside her, head on her chest like he was trying to keep her tethered to the earth. She lived. They gave her a medical alert bracelet after that. She never used it. Because Luther was enough. He passed the following spring. She didn't replace him. Didn't need to. He didn't leave me alone, she told the hospice nurse later. He left me ready. And that, right there, is the gift. That's what these dogs do. Not just for seniors, but especially for seniors. They walk beside you through the last chapters, not with pity, not with fear, but with purpose. They remind you that you are still writing this story, that your life is still being lived. That connection isn't just for the young. That love, real, grounding, everyday love, is still yours to give and to receive. And maybe, if you've been thinking about getting a dog but wondering if it's too late, it's not. Not if your heart still has space. Not if your days still want rhythm. Not if you're willing to let someone see you, all of you, and love you exactly as you are. A German Shepherd doesn't care about your RA doesn't care about your past mistakes, your diagnosis, your bad hips, your lost years. They care about what's real, what's here, what you'll give them in return for their trust. Not perfection, just presence. That's all they ask. And if you can give them that, then you will never, ever be alone again. Because once you've had a dog like that, even after they're gone, you carry them with you, in how you move, in how you breathe, in how you sit with the silence. They stay. Always.